So I thought I'd do a video today looking at ways in which your core wounding, looking at ways in which that which you find most challenging to deal with can be an invitation to a deeper understanding of yourself and a deeper understanding of life as well. So I wanted to make this video because sometimes life can be very, very difficult indeed. And sometimes we're faced with such big challenges that we think we might not make it past them. We feel that they're too great for us. It can feel too overwhelming, and the difficulties and the grief and in the suffering can be immense. But from a spiritual perspective, we're all one consciousness experiencing itself subjectively. The soul can never die. There is a part of you that is eternal. And this eternal part of you is in turn connected to a sea of loving consciousness. So you have great wisdom within, because when you go within, that's when you get in touch with this core part of you, this divine within you. So it's immense, and you are immense as well. You are an immense being. You're a vast being. But modern day life keeps us small. In many ways, modern day life seeks to keep us small, because if we are imagining that answers always lie outside of ourselves, we are more easily malleable and more easily manipulated into fitting in with society's values. But society is broken. Society is very broken. Jiddu Krishnamurti, the guy who I believe brought Buddhism to the West many years ago, said of society and said of man that it's no measure of good health to be well adjusted to a profoundly sick society. And it's a really immense quote, and I think it's a quote that came from a fiction book. It is attributed to him, but I'm not too sure of the source of it. But he's absolutely right. Our society is profoundly sick. It's perhaps always been that way. It seems worse now. The disparity between rich and poor is vast. We're a very rich society. The people at the top of our society, the elite 1%, or, they earn ridiculous amounts, billions of dollars, and yet we still have people in poverty at the bottom of society. The very structure of our society perpetuates the poverty. Our society is often built on greed. It isn't built on the right values. Profit is placed above people, animals, the environment. Our form of capitalism is skewed. We need a form of capitalism whereby profit is minimized and profit is not given primacy, but care and compassion and love are the primary driving forces, so that every industry and every company seeks to actively make something better, solve a problem, look after people, look after animals, bring back dignity and love and compassion and care. These should not be some weird whims. This should be how our society is structured. It isn't enough that our society is advancing technologically at all. That means nothing if the people in charge are still greedy, corrupt, broken children in some instances, running around, their egos running rampant, trying to prove that they are these big, wonderful people, It's insane. It's a form of insanity. And it's also a form of enslavement. It's like a giant pyramid scheme in a way. People at the very bottom really struggle to work their way up, and many do not at all. And it seems to be getting worse. Even getting the basics right, even getting people housed and clothed and fed adequately, and then schooled, and then, you know, the whole shebang. We're mining resources on this planet, wrecking the planet, again in the name of greed and exploitation. It's like a train that's just running straight into a brick wall. And that's our society. So it is no measure of health to be well adjusted to a profoundly sick society. And it's no wonder perhaps that so many people are on antidepressants and so many people are broken and lost and struggling, because we struggle to make meaning. We are meaning making people. We are creative. We need passion and purpose and love and creativity. We are born from love. The divinity that is within us is love. It's a loving consciousness. Many years ago, I had an experience where I touched upon this larger consciousness. I was lucky enough to do this, where I felt this sense of divine, loving bliss. And it was amazing. It was bigger than anything I could have imagined, and there are no words to describe it. There are no human words that could possibly do justice to that experience. But it's an experience, and it's there potentially for all of us at some point on our journey, whether in this incarnation or another, because we do this again and again and again. And so I believe our primary purpose is a spiritual purpose. Our primary purpose is to wake up, remember who we are, empower ourselves, come back to love, come back to the compassion, come back to all of this wisdom within. And then we can seek to wake other people up as well. Because many people have just forgotten. They've forgotten who they are, and they've become enchanted by the things of the world. But the things of the world, this temporary world, these temporary things, God will not care how many cars you accumulated, but he will care who you are on a heart level. Who are you inside? Who have you been? Have you shown up for yourself and for others? Have you shown up with love, kindness, sympathy, warmth, understanding, forgiveness? Who are you in the world? But the structures and the powers that be keep us small, and they seek to keep us small. There is absolutely nothing in it for them if we level up and find out who we are. And actually it puts them at a disadvantage, because then we need them less. We look outside of ourselves less for external knowledge, for truth, for wisdom, for sustenance, for comfort. We look inside ourselves more, so our needs shrink. Our true needs become much less. We look to consume mindlessly far less, and probably are able to banish that completely, pretty much, when we find out who we are. But it isn't just necessarily a case of we become awake and then that's it. It's a process, and it never stops. You can have awakening experiences and then sometimes go back to sleep. You have to keep your foot in the door, so to speak, the doors of perception, which are your mind, your left brain, your logical, egoic left brain, is what prevents you from seeing things as they are. It's the right brain, the creative side that is connected to this divine source. So you keep a foot in the door with meditation, with prayer, with other ways as well. To just keep a foot in the door, so to speak, to just keep the doors open a little, so that you may know a little of that peace on a regular basis. And so that is my baseline for when I say that we need to awaken to our true natures. And that's my baseline for when I say that when we face difficulties, when we face some darknesses within or without, it's going through that process sometimes that can be the biggest invitation into who you are in totality. Sometimes it's the core wounding. It's these places where we are afraid to go that will hold for us the biggest journey, the biggest leap in our evolution spiritually. And this is why many people perhaps don't make it, and there's no judgment there on them not making it, because it's a difficult journey. It's a difficult journey. Not everyone makes it in this life. But the invitation is always there, and the invitation is often there in the core wounding. And it can be the most difficult thing in the world, because the core wounding can sometimes be the greatest losses that we incur, that we think we can never bear. I think it was Muji losing his own child, I think, that prompted him, or that started his spiritual awakening process. And other spiritual teachers too. They tend to go through the dark night of the soul. And it's in coming out the other side of this most difficult thing that really starts their spiritual journey. Because when you come through great loss, great difficulty, great hardship, there are gifts hidden within, sometimes spiritual gifts. Hard to see at first. Maybe you can't see them at first. But after a while, when your eyes grow accustomed to the dark, sometimes you see something glinting in the corner and you realise that there's a gift and it's yours, and no one else can take it from you, because no one else has been on this journey that you've been on. And the gift is strength. You've discovered a hidden gift within you, a strength and an ability to transmute, to alchemize the darkness into something else. And that can be a really beautiful thing. So no one can take that gift from you. And then at other times it does trigger a full-blown spiritual awakening, not in everyone. But in some people, it levels them up. In most people. You come out changed, but you come out changed because you are stronger. You are stronger. You are forged in the fire now. And it doesn't mean you won't be brought to your knees again and again in other ways in life, but you have inner tools now. You have inner tools that will help you navigate these new and complex and difficult and dark areas. So we have to go through the darkness. And sometimes it's too much to bear alone. And that's when you might need a doctor, you might need to go on antidepressants. You might need to see a counsellor, you might need to see a psychiatrist. None of these things are wrong. It's whatever's right for you on your particular journey. But ultimately, this test, this really difficult test, is going to inform your character. It's going to be a thing that helps build you up again on the other side. It's going to be the thing that breaks you, is also going to be the thing that remakes you. And it reminds me of, is it Kitsungi? The Japanese art of putting smashed pottery back together again. They put it back together with cement and then paint the outsides gold, I believe, and it looks very, very beautiful. And it reminds me of that, because you'll be put back together again. You won't be the same person that you were. You might find there are a few cracks around the edges at times. Sometimes you come out stronger, other times you come out and you're a bit more aware of a fallibility here and there. But you've gained strength in other ways. You've gained strength in ways you couldn't have possibly. You've gained awareness and understanding in ways that you couldn't have done in any other way. Leveling up in life isn't always just about the darkness. It isn't always about going through the darkness. But that's one way. That's one way. So if you're going through any difficulties at the moment, you're not alone. And it could be the very thing that breaks you is the thing that will remake you. And sometimes these things force us into a spiritual journey because there is nowhere else to look. But the spiritual journey is a necessary journey for each and every one of us one day. As I say, it might not be in this incarnation. It might be in another. There's a journey and we're all on it in our own unique way. We can all help wake each other up. We can't force another person to wake up. That's their journey. They've got their spirit team guide just as you have their guides. But we can be there and help. We can be a voice in the wilderness and we can say, hey, look, we've been through a difficult time and we've come out the other side and God is real. Goddess is real. The divine is real. This amazing sea of consciousness is real and you're part of it. You're not a finite being in this broken world. You're an infinite being with far vaster wisdom and love within you than you could ever know. And this love makes you powerful, more powerful than we could ever know. There is great power in love. It's the most powerful force there is. It's the most powerful force there is. And some spiritual teachers have come and tried to wake us up to this fact. And they usually end up getting assassinated, don't they? As Bill Hicks said, we tend to kill the good guys and let the bad guys run amok. And unfortunately we do on this planet. But love is there nonetheless. This beautiful, loving wisdom is within you nonetheless. And you can choose to ignore it for a time if you like. You can choose to numb out in front of the TV with a monster packet of crisps or a giant bar of chocolate and a glass of wine and just pretend for a time that these things were enough to satiate your inner calling. But life will gently call you back into something a little bit larger one day in its own way. And if you find yourself in that place at 3 a.m. sobbing because you're feeling broken and lost and you're wondering how can you possibly get through this, then know that whatever it is that you're going through it for a reason. You're going through it for a reason. This is a test, potentially. And it's a test to help you become all of who you can be, because you couldn't be all of who you could be if you were just left as you were. Sometimes you have to go through these really terrible things in order to become more of who you are, in order to shine and to grow into something entirely new and different. You have to be broken apart first. The skin which contains your body cannot hold the shape of this new growth, this new emerging you. You have to be broken apart and then put back together with gold. Stronger, more beautiful, more aware, more knowledgeable, more wise. Holding a greater capacity for love, for understanding, for compassion. And these are the qualities that we have to fight for sometimes, because sometimes we can become lost and consumed by darkness. Sometimes when you're lying in bed at 3 a.m. and you're sobbing, it's the darkness that can consume you, the feeling that it is too much for you, that you don't want to be around on this planet anymore. that it's too much for you. But you have to hold on. Do not give in to these feelings of darkness. Do not let the darkness consume you. Seek help if you need to seek help from anyone. And know somewhere within that you are greater than you could possibly imagine. You've got answers within you and access to so much love, so much wisdom. And that when you come through your 3 a.m. moment, you'll have come through something. And in that coming through, there's a breakthrough. There's a little levelling up, or maybe a huge levelling up. Every time you come through, every time you don't just reach to numb the pain, but you sit with the pain and trust that it's happening for you and not to you, and trust that it's happening for a reason. And then you just give that moment to the divine, and you just give your heart to the divine in that moment, and you say, okay, I need this. This is either karma, or this is something else, or this is a test, or this is a growth lesson. There's always an invitation. There's always an invitation to dive deeply into every situation, every experience, no matter how difficult. And if you dare dive deeply into it and trust that God has got your back, and commune with God silently in that moment and say, okay, God, I trust you. I trust that I need this. Please help me through it because it's really hard. But I trust you. I trust that I need this journey at this time. Please help show me. Please help guide me with what I need to do to get through it. Please help guide me with people who can help me. Please help guide me that I come through it without falling into resentment or bitterness or despair or any lower emotions. Please help me come through it, that I can still love and remain open-hearted to the world. And by remaining open-hearted, that's still preserving excellent boundaries when you have to. Remaining open-hearted to the world is my goal, but I still try to maintain boundaries wherever possible and guard those boundaries fiercely, because you've got to be your own best friend. You've got to fiercely defend your ground, your boundaries. Other people will often seek to infringe upon your boundaries, encroach upon your boundaries. And sometimes they do it completely unaware and unconsciously. They don't know what they're doing very often. Many people who run around asking things of other people, who are very active in the world, especially those with the more prominent jobs, especially those who are the busiest, often can be the most unaware people, the people with the least self-awareness at times. If you're very successful outwardly in the world, chances are you don't go within. So you don't know your own failings very well. You haven't done the inner work. You haven't done your shadow work. You haven't looked at who you are, or really acknowledged your own inner demons, your own inner monsters. And sometimes you just let them loose on other people, and other people have to run around coming up with a strategy as to how to deal with your problems for you, because you're not dealing with them. And if you're in that situation and you're trying to come up with strategies as to how to deal with other people's monsters, remember that they are their monsters. Ultimately, you can come up with a strategy as to how to defend your boundaries and look after yourself, look after your own health. And you can help them. You can help guide them gently to help themselves, but you cannot do the work for them. They must do that work. They must do that work. And it is not your responsibility to do it for them, however much you might love them and you might want to help. So there is so much to be grateful for. There's so much to be happy about. There's so much reason to be joyful, because there is so very much beauty in this world. I know it doesn't always look like it. We look around and all we see is despair and the greed and the brokenness and the unhealed stuff and the mess that humans seem to be making on this planet, while our billionaires are running around shooting rockets to Mars and thinking, hey, we forget this mess, we just go to Mars. I don't think we're ready for Mars. I think we have to clean up our own planet first. We have to be able to look at our own stuff collectively and also on a personal level. We have to be able to look within our own stuff, our own unhealed monsters, and deal with those. And then when we've done that, which can take lifetimes, and some people never do it. So when we've got to that level, that's base level 1, right? That's first base on a spiritual level, perhaps. When we've done that, then maybe we can start to look at the messes we've made and start healing them and creating something better on this planet. And if we get to do that, if we get to that level collectively, I don't even know if we're going to get there. If we get there, then we've created a great foundation from which we can go and explore space. Go to Mars, have a great time. It doesn't look like a very fantastic planet to live on, at the moment, unless they can terraform it. But hey, that's when we get to go to Mars. Not now. Because all we're doing is we're taking our broken ass, messy, unhealed selves and shipping them off to another planet, Like, no. We got to deal with our stuff first. We don't get to just dance off and mess up another planet as well. We got to deal with our stuff. We got to deal with the basics. We've got to look at our own psyches. Our own messy, broken, crazy psyches. And we got to deal with all of that. And it's hard. It is hard. It isn't easy at all. Of course it isn't. Even when you have knowledge of the divine, it still isn't easy. You still have your 3 a.m. moments, but at least you've got that knowledge of the divine and the divinity within. And at least you've got a bit more strength because you've come through a few of these times. And you've come out stronger and you've come out with discernment, because you do get gifts sometimes. As you level up in life, you learn. And the learning gives you strength as well. And it gives you the ability to see things more clearly. And you gain the discernment, the clarity you need to make the difficult decisions next time. And to be able to more easily see what is yours to deal with, what is not yours to deal with greater clarity. You can move more swiftly through certain obstacles, and some obstacles just shrink. And what was once a mountain becomes a pebble, and we just leap over it. There is great, great benefit to slaying your inner monsters, to learning what they are. And sometimes we slay them, and sometimes we just have to work with them to a degree. Manage them, understand them. Look at them, drag them out into the light of day. But you have to know what it is that you're looking at. You can't heal what you don't see. And it could be anything. It could be your core wounding, could be anything, You could be dealing with something really horrendous that you never wanted to deal with. But when you come out the other side, when you do, as I say, there are great gifts there. There's great reason to be hopeful. We might not get it right on this planet, but you have to hold on to love anyway. As I say, love is the biggest force out there. Love is the most powerful force out there. And the darkness looks pretty big, doesn't it? It looks pretty terrifying and it looks pretty horrendous. But it isn't the most powerful force. The most powerful force is love. And everything that you are, when you come from a place of love, you become more powerful in the world. Your light shines a little bit more. You radiate out that love, there's a ripple effect. It has effects beyond anything that we can see. We don't know the effect that our love can have upon the world. But it is not small, it is significant, it always is. Even if all you can manage is a smile at a stranger, that's something. That can ignite their heart, and they in turn can ignite the heart of someone else, and so on and so forth. Everything matters, and everything that we do matters. Our society would play down an awful lot of things and tell us certain things don't matter. It's only the pursuit of wealth that matters, etc. All of that's bullshit. We know it's bullshit. What matters is all of the kindness that you are, all of the love that you are on the inside, and how much of that can you bring to others, and how much of that dare you bring to others, especially when you've been beaten down by life a little bit. If you can get back up with love in your heart, then you're on a very beautiful journey indeed. And then you become a little bit more powerful in the world. Because then you're learning a little bit about the dance. This weird, strange dance that is life. That's always calling us back, deeper, wilder. Still with some joy, still with that love, always, always present. Always present. No matter how dark, God, Goddess, the divine, is always with you. Always with you. So that's my message for today, I guess. That's going to do it for now. I hope you're okay. I hope wherever you are, whatever you're doing, I hope you're doing all right. I hope you're finding things okay. I hope you can find a bit of joy and a bit of love in your heart today. So yeah, wishing you well. Take care. God bless.